We'll call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The reading of our mission statement. Silver City is the hub of an inclusive community settled within a small town that through guided growth honors and preserves its historical, cultural, and natural heritage while facilitating jobs, health, and education resources such that the residents and visitors may enjoy and protect the recreational opportunities of the area and high quality of life. And the first...
Well said.
Oh, thank you. I've been practicing for 2 weeks. First item on the agenda with action is public input, and I remind you that you have 5 minutes to speak, and I will try to give you a 1-minute warning. And Star, you're up.
I'm very proud of myself. I got here at the correct time. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes first about the ACD presence at the Albuquerque Summerfest. You got the stuff I emailed you last time. It was an opportunity to promote Silver City and Grant County. The ACD was, given a free booth, but I don't see these divisions. It's all about getting people aware that we are down here and we're worth a visit, or maybe even moving to. Who knows? Lois Duffy, who has a gallery here, went with me. She collected art from several different artists in the community. So they ran that booth. I ran a booth with panels, which were contributed, tripartite display panels that were contributed by GRMC, the SBDC, and GRIP, pardon the alphabet soup. And I think this demonstrates just a little bit of the whole aspect of how collaborative this was. People were chipping in and helping left and right with materials and other things. The most salient aspect of this for me was in talking and eliciting things from people, the lack of awareness that we're down here by at least people who live in the Albuquerque area, which based on the people, when I had people sign in and the questions I asked them, I determined that most of them were from Albuquerque. Some had moved there recently. Others, have been there their whole lives. I asked them a couple of questions. Have you ever heard of Silver City? No. Quite a few hadn't. Number 2, well, if you've heard of it, do you know where we are? No. Number 3, if you've heard of us and know where we are, have you ever been here? No. And then for those who answered yes, I would say, well, when was that? And they would go, with a few exceptions. And I said, has it been more than 10 years? And they would go, yes. And I go, well, it's still Silver City and it's still the same, but there's so much more. And you really have to treat yourself well and come down. I do think that it would be helpful in other event venues, wherever possible, that there be a table, a booth representing the ACD, Silver City, Grant County. I don't really care. Representing this area, there's nothing like one-on-one personal contact with people. And then they might go home and mention it to somebody else, and somebody might get a wild hair and decide to come down here. So anyway, I was happy to do that. It is a lot of hard work. Also, Lois and I took care of all this out of our own pockets. This didn't come from the ACD. It didn't come from lodger's tax. We paid for it. And happy to do so in this case because this is our home and we love our community. The other thing I just wanted to mention quickly, you may have noticed, and Alex, I know you're aware of this because it's been a long process. The new Swan Street sign frame is up for events. When the ACD was still the little entity it was back around May, we had some money left and we had been talking about having some signage, some beginning of some wayfinding for the community. And perhaps to replace the ad hoc arrangements that have gone up on that corner with something a little more visible, a little more solid, a little more official. It's up. It still needs the tiles put in along the baseline. There will be tiles from Syzygy Tile. There will be the ACD hand, just graphically really striking. It'll hold a 4x4 by half-inch thick piece of plywood. I'm currently in the process of working on some guidelines to give planning, because, people still need to go through planning as they do now to have permission to post a sign on that corner. It is on the city property. But some kind of guidelines, so perhaps people's signs can look a little more professional, and also ensure that they have the most basic material that they need to get up there. The event, the location, the time, the date, and perhaps a phone number or a web address, to contact for further information. So we are approaching the finish line on that. Conservation by Design, the same people who are working on the signage in the Big Ditch, did this project along with Custom Steel Works. It's made of weathering steel. The cutout at the top says Silver City. It's in the process of turning green, which it's supposed to. It's a special patina treated metal. And the body of the frame is weathering steel, and over time it will turn a really nice kind of rusty red, depending on, the precipitation and all that. So it should be a nice contrast and have those characteristic sort of turquoisey green earth colors that we think of when we think of New Mexico. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, sir.
All right, I appreciate the support from the town very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
The next item on the agenda is council comments. Councilor Bedison, would you like to start?
I have no comments, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Cook?
Thank you, everybody, for being careful with your fireworks this year.
Thank you. Councilor Ray?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to comment on the 4th of July parade, which was very, very nice. I do have one complaint on the 4th of July parade. I think it was very disrespectful that the guy that had the dog leading the parade with the 2 flags in its mouth, I thought that was very disrespectful towards the veterans, and I'm speaking as a veteran myself. Also, I went to the ice cream social, and it was very nice. The music was very good. The ice cream was terrific. I had a conversation with Mr. Brown and with Dr. Shepard from Western, and we are in the process of doing some sort of fandango, excuse the English, but some sort of party for hopefully sometime in August. And it's going to be in conjunction with the town and Western. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ramos?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a quick question due to a couple of residents in my district, more specifically in my household. Any idea when Penny Park is going to be up and running?
Next week.
Okay.
Almost everything's done, so.
And thank you. And I use my children as an example, but actually I've had a number of kids, their friends, and everything asking that. So there's a lot of excitement building up in the community, especially among our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Will we have a ribbon cutting or something?
I think we were gonna open it up to the public next week when it's ready, and then the following week, we wanted to put something together.
That'd be great. I'd like to thank Craig Pfeiffer and the fire department for the wonderful fireworks display, and I think it was great and looked like there was really good turnout, and the smiley face was very nice. And that will be all. Anybody need round 2? Councilor Bedison?
I wanted to ask real briefly, I've had several people ask me when the Pope and 12th Street intersection is going to be completed.
I can answer that for you. Story tomorrow, Silver City Daily Press, front page, and it's going to be open like mid-August, right?
Mid-August.
Right? Yes. We'll get there.
Well,
We should be completed with all construction mid-August.
Yeah, because I had some people say, we're not going to have stop signs there, like, from now on. And
No.
so it's going to have stop lights.
Yeah, today we started doing all the bases for the poles. So once we get all those in, you'll start seeing the poles start putting up. But it should be somewhere about the 10th or so of August, maybe the 15th, right in there.
Great, thank you so much, and Tom, and everyone else. And I just want to reiterate what the mayor and Councilor Rona said, and Councilor Ray about the 4th of July parade was wonderful. Going down to the museum was wonderful as well. I did not have any ice cream this year, but but it was really a great turnout, and I liked the option that was provided of fresh fruit by the co-op for some of the kids, that you could get fresh fruit if you wanted to, if you were unable to eat dairy. And I just want to mention that I'm so thankful to Craig Pfeiffer and the fire department that our fireworks didn't go off all at once, like in San Diego. Great job. They did a great job here. So thank you.
Just because we have a short agenda, we don't have to have filler. Moving right along, are there any changes to the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved as is. And next item on the agenda is approval of minutes of the regular meeting of the Silver City Town Council from June 26, 2012, as presented tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor.
I move that we approve the minutes of the regular Town Council meeting of June 26, 2012, as presented this evening.
Is there a second?
I second it, as read.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? There's a motion, a second, and no discussion to approve the minutes of the meeting of the Silver City Town Council from June 26, 2012, as presented tonight. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is under reports. Year-end report on the Visitor Center by Sissy McAndrew, Executive Director of the Southwest New Mexico Green Chamber of Commerce. Sissy, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mayor, councilors. It's been a very good year for us, and we wanted, first of all, to, this is a really nice broad image of the Visitor Center. One thing that I wanted to mention, you notice here that we've got one volunteer on the desk, and there's a tourist at the front of the desk and another person sitting down. And the mayor asked me yesterday about the phones. And the Visitor Center, we have one phone line going in. If the volunteer is busy with a live person, we instruct them to take care of that individual. If the phone rings, it does take a message, and they will go back in, get that message, and call the people back. If they're on the phone with somebody, the phone immediately goes into the voice message. So we are returning phone calls. We get quite a few hang-ups. So I think there's people checking, either they don't know exactly which number they're calling this year. We will have time. We will be getting the phone number into the phone books. That was a challenge last year because by the time we received the word that we were going to be running the Visitor Center, we did not have time to get the phone number into the phone book. So that will be taken care of. But anyways, we're very proud of our volunteers. We're continuing to get more and more people volunteering. And as you know, we are now open 7 days a week, so things are going very smoothly. This basically shows you the numbers. When I gave my presentation last quarter, one of our concerns was December, and that, of course, was because the cliff dwellings were closed, that we saw the numbers go down. We had the cliff dwellings close again because of the smoke, and that's what we're seeing in June. Another thing that happened in June is we had the construction going on Hudson, and it was amazing how much that impacted people being able to get into the Visitor Center. So we kind of had a double whammy there, and we feel that that's really one reason why we saw the numbers go down. My personal goal was to have 15,000 visitors this year. You're going to see we fell a little bit short of that. But again, we had a couple challenges. We now do have the marketing in place. We're continuing to get more people requesting information, and we think we're just going to continue to see an upswing. I did call the University Museum and found out that their visitation this last year was down by 200. So we'll see what we can do to try to pump that up. The Silver City Museum is still gathering their numbers, so I will go ahead and send information out to you. And we're also trying to correlate. Last year, if you remember, we kept the visitor center open on weekends, and it was kind of hit and miss on whether it was open during the week. So we're going to go back and actually try to capture all that weekend data, and again, try to give you a comparative to show you what's happened in the last year as far as visitation. And then now, of course, we have the database, and we will continue to have trending for the future. This is another one that, another graph we're really going to try to talk to a lot of the businesses in town, and this is showing the number of visitors on the different days of the week. And of course, Saturday is our big day, but if you look, we basically have more people on Mondays than we do on Fridays. And so we're going to start talking to a lot of the galleries, a lot of the local businesses, and say, if you need to take a day off, we understand they're a mom and pop shop, but maybe they can go ahead and shift that so that when our visitors are in town, we can tell them we're open for business, and they can go down and shop Silver City and Grant County. We've been doing mailings, and the first mailings we were doing was the little green brochure that we had, Find Yourself in Silver City. We sent out 1,862 of those, and these are actually coming from the reader response cards and also from phone calls. We get very few phone calls asking for information. The website's doing a very good job fulfilling those needs. We now are sending out, as you see, 937. Those are actually going to be the visitor guides now, so the large booklets which are going out. We not only have our lodger's tax money, but the Grant County lodger's tax is also paying for fulfillment. So we will be mailing out the large visitor guide, and that will be our fulfillment piece for the future. This is Julie Menicucci on the right, myself in the center, and Michelle Gills, and we are up at the Governor's Conference on Tourism. This was in May, and this was our booth, and as you can see, we basically had an assortment of all of the different aspects of Silver City. We had some of our ads so that people could see those on the left, and we also have visitors guides, and this was our major point of distribution, to get visitors guides out to all the visitor centers around the state, because we had everybody that's involved in the state tourism was at this event. So we were able, rather than trying to drop ship things, we were able to basically just pass guides out and get them out to all the other visitor centers around the state. We also created some great relationships and rapport, and we're able to introduce ourselves, and as Star mentioned, introduce our community and who we are today to the rest of the people in tourism. This is Mary from the Deming Chamber of Commerce, and I'm down visiting her, and we are actually going to start working together to coordinate day tours. They send a lot of people up on the Trail to Mountain Spirit Scenic Byway. They never quite get them to Silver City, so we're going to be working with them to try to do a cooperative to where they can help get people to Silver City, and we send people down to the Deming Luna Museum and also Rockhound State Park. So we're really going to start working together, the two visitor centers, to try to see what we can do to increase the opportunity and get people to spend more nights. We're also working with the different lodgers around the area, the restaurants, the golf course, and we're going to start putting packages together so that we can promote having people come here and getting them to stay for a longer time and having things to do. And then, as I mentioned, the statewide visitor center. Today I actually was down in El Paso to the airport. When I came back, I stopped at the visitor center in Anthony, dropped off more materials, and again, we've got a one-on-one relationship with them. It's working out very, very well. The Gila Rangers went in. The cabin had been in real disrepair once we moved back into the visitor center, and we basically had it locked. And contacted them a couple months ago. They went in and basically took a compressor, cleaned everything up, rearranged everything, and we now have the cabin open 7 days a week. We do have some very good locks at the request of the police department so that we don't have people trying to clip those off. And we also have a camera in there to kind of keep track of visitors as they go through. But you'll see they're posing up here in the top left-hand corner, and that very day, right after we took that photo, there's a family already inside enjoying the cabins. So it is a major attraction for us. The 4th of July, we were open. We had 78 people that used the facility, and we're really glad to be able to serve the public. A lot of folks had not been in before, and the fact that they were able to have the public restrooms was very important to them. The parking lot, you'll see also, we have people that were parking there the night before and just opening up the beds of their truck and having a great place to watch the parade. This is after the fires. We had quite a challenge with the smoke. We had a real challenge because a lot of the press releases went out, even though they were from Albuquerque or from other areas, they would make it look as if the press release was coming out of Silver City, and it had a huge impact as far as people thinking that we were on fire. And we started working locally with the papers. I called up Albuquerque to the news channels. We tried to work it. As soon as it hit the national news, it was totally out of control. It was a really good lesson for us. This is where we're going to be able to use social media in the future. We worked very, very close with the Forest Service. They were in every day giving us updated information. We had links out to their website. But we've moved on from that. And this is a posting now that's out on the web page, and it's just mentioning that the monsoon season is here, sunny days, cool nights, come on up. So we're really starting to try to just make sure we're keeping positive PR out there, and we're telling the story about the fact that our community is open for business, and we want to have people come visit. And the Tamale Fiesta is going to be on December 8th. So we're starting to plan that. This is our ad that went out for a call for vendors. We have a large committee this year made up of mostly Hispanics, so we're real excited about that. We're letting them tell us what we can do to help them create a cultural event. We have different businesses already, a lot of the lodgers that are looking at perhaps offering discounts that week. So again, we're looking at the trends of when our tourism is up. This tends to be one of those areas, December, when tourism is down. So we're going to try to do everything we can to pump it up with a special event. Just like Lee Gruber mentioned to you at the last meeting about the Clay Festival, we're working as a team, community-wide, to try to increase tourism and also to try to get very wonderful events that are going to be representative of our community. And that pretty much completes my presentation. Are there any questions at all?
Questions? Just, I know it calls for a subjective answer, but when people walk into the visitor center, what are they looking for? What do they say?
First of all, we greet them, and we ask them right off the bat. A lot of times they'll make that quick turn to the right and go down to the restrooms first thing. When they come in, a lot of times they really aren't sure what they want to see. So they'll come up and we'll give them a very good overview of what we have to offer. Another thing I do want to mention with the catwalk closed, we've actually pulled all of those brochures. And we have a couple pieces of literature that have catwalk information in them, and now we need to inform the public that for the next few years that facility will not be accessible to them. But most of them want to hear what we have to offer. We give them a general map of the area so that they know the outlying areas of Silver City. We give them the Main Street map is the one that's most helpful because that's a blown-up version of downtown, and we can help guide them up to the museum. We can help get them around to the different restaurants. And then what we try to do is we have them go over and look at the area of brochures where we've got the lodging, we've got the restaurants, we find out what type of food they want, and we actually give them that personal service of asking their direct questions and getting them directly where they need to go. But we'll get questions sometimes, somebody that needs to fill up a propane tank, someone that needs to dump their RV. We answer all sorts of questions, and I think that's the thing that's great is we've got people from the community that have those answers. If they don't, they will either check with our staff in the back that are there, they'll give me a call, and we're able to get those questions answered and get those people where they are hoping to go. We are finding more and more people, though, that come back in after they've been out and about, just saying what a great place this is, and a lot of them that decide they're going to stay for another night because they realize there's so much more to do.
And is there a phone number if anybody has any questions about the visitor center?
Very simple phone number. It's 575-538-5555.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have a question? You have to come up.
Thanks, Sissy. Thank you, Sissy. And I'm Nick Seipel from the Main Street Project. And just sort of as an addendum when we're talking about the visitor center in Big Ditch and introducing people to Silver City, Main Street's been working on some interpretive signage for the Big Ditch to tell the story of what the Big Ditch is all about. And just wanted to let folks know that at Big Ditch Day, which is happening on the 21st of this month, that's a week from this coming Saturday, July 21st, at 2 p.m. we'll be dedicating that interpretive signage, and we hope that members of the council, you, Mr. Mayor, and the community will be able to join us for that, as well as for all the events and the live music and stuff that'll be going on during the day prior to that. So, July 21st.
In Albuquerque. Thanks, Nick. The next item on the agenda, or we're going to finish reports. Mr. Brown, you have anything?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about where we ended up with the budget. As far as revenues, as far as gross receipts taxes, this year we received the highest amount of gross receipts tax that we've ever received, at about $8.97 million. The highest we had ever received until this point was $8.7 million. The revenues that I projected for next year was about $8.9 million. So there's no increase. So the budget is very conservative for next year, just for your information. Also, the one place that we fell short a little bit was the water sewer fund. Up until 2 months ago, we were actually about 18% below projections. So we were quite a bit far behind on the revenue projections, but the last 2 months, we actually caught up to about where we're about 1.5% behind what was projected. So when we bring you the final budget for this year, the projected balance is going to be less than what the actual is going to come out to be. But we will receive that revenue will be realized at the beginning of next fiscal year because it's been billed. We just need to collect it. Lodgers tax was the highest that we've ever received again. So last year was a very good year, but we actually spent and invested in a lot of capital improvements last year, probably, in fact, the most that we've invested ever. So it was a very busy year for all the departments, and I want to thank them for doing a very good job in getting everything moving and completed and staying on top of things, and especially the finance department for being able to keep up with everything that we had to keep up this last year.
With no tax increases.
No tax increases.
Thank you. Peter? Peter Russell ran. Thanks. The next item on the agenda is under new business, approval, disapproval of resolution number 2012-16 for participation in a local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Mr. Peña.
This resolution will give us the opportunity to enter into a cooperative agreement with the New Mexico Department of Transportation for street and drainage improvements on Santa Rita Street. The section of Santa Rita Street that we're looking at to do the improvements is the section between 13th Street and Penny Park, and the skate park, I'm sorry. Currently, right now, that section is in really poor condition. It's half of it is asphalt, but it really doesn't seem like asphalt. It's such in bad shape. The other half is dirt. So what we're looking at is a whole brand-new paved section with curb and gutter and sidewalks on the east side, the side of the park.
Is there any comments, discussion from the audience? Seeing none, any discussion from the council? Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just pleased to see this come forward because that is pretty rough over there. And that will really enable our residents and visitors to find parking.
Right, and along with the street improvements, we'll also do it in such a way that we leave plenty of parking.
Great, thank you so much.
Any other discussion?
Is that the section right there in front of Agape School? Okay, all right.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Morones.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of resolution number 2012-16 for participation in the local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second to approve resolution number 2012-16. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no discussion, to approve resolution number 2012-16 for participation in the local government road fund program administered by the New Mexico Department of Transportation. Roll call.
Aye.
Councilor Wright?
Aye.
Councilor Cook?
Aye.
Councilor Madison?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thanks, Peter. The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of notice of intent ordinance number 1207, an ordinance amending section 12-16-12.8 prohibited activities while driving of the New Mexico Uniform Traffic Code adopted as the Silver City Traffic Ordinance in Chapter 50, Section 50-1 of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City, New Mexico. Councilor Ray, you have the floor.
Oh, boy, here we go. Okay, I have been asked by some residents to see if we could do an NOI on the cell phone. I did a little bit of work on this, and I contacted both Albuquerque and Las Cruces, and both of them told me that they don't see any actual concrete in the issuance of tickets or accidents on the cell phone. They do see a lot of texting on this, and the same thing here in Silver. There's been too much inattention on stoplights and texting. Also, there's a lot of other distractions. Eating, changing the radio. I know that this is a very touchy situation, and hopefully that we may be able to come to a conclusion when this is brought up before public hearings. And I understand it's going to be for, I believe, about a month before we actually decide on it. And whatever happens is going to happen. Some people are going to like it and some people are not going to like it. Just be smart, be careful, be safe if you do have to use your cell phones. I understand there are some government entities and local city and the county, the sheriff's department. I know that they have to use it. We all know that they have to use them. Now, do we know if they're talking business? No, we don't. But I believe that it'd be okay for them to do it, as long as they're safe. And with that, I will leave it.
Any discussion from the audience on this notice of intent ordinance number 1207? Seeing none, any comments from the council? Councilor Bedison.
I have a question on the back side under where it actually lists the information, so I guess it's the number 6. So I can imagine a scenario where someone will say, well, I wasn't talking, I wasn't dialing and I wasn't texting, but I was reading. Because people read, their cell phones as they do, if they're driving. I've seen it.
Done it.
Yeah. So I was just wondering if we could include that, Chief, because I'm just wondering how, they'll get around it one way or another.
I'll kind of answer it this way. In use of the, if it's in their hand, they're using it. Sure. I apologize. Based on this ordinance, as it stands at this point, if they're holding it in their hand, they're reading it, then they're using it. And I'll give you a statistical information because I'm all about stats. Hang on just a minute. For a person to look at a text while they're on their phone, it takes about 4.6 seconds for them to read that and then draw their attention back to the roadway. So even if they're sitting still, they're not paying attention to what the traffic is. They may miss the traffic light. They may miss another hazard. If they're holding it, they're using it.
So
I guess it goes back to the comment, because right now, it doesn't really say anything about holding it. It doesn't talk about using it. It's got very specific information, dialing, talking, or entering data. So reading is part of the actual, people will look through their contacts before they're going to call somebody. So I'm just wondering if we need to be more broad or include that in that section there. I mean, is it better to be broader or to be more, to do a whole list? And I would ask Councilor Ray and our town attorney, which would be the better thing, and also the chief, what would be more easier for you to be able to enforce. I mean, that's what's going to essentially come down to, is enforcement. No.
That's enforceable, based on what it says. Now, one caveat that I want to also put out there, it says whether one vehicle is moving. I'm trying to go along the travel portion of the roadway, when you're using that, then you're not devoting your full attention to the operation of the vehicle. So therefore, I would suggest strongly that take that section out, where it says moving, and just make it clear. And what we're going to do is use on-street devices on that function. That way, what it does is it also clears up the ambiguity of what you're talking about. If you just put it straight across, no use of cell phones, no use of video phones, while the vehicle is moving, with the exception of county health, like industry devices, what's enforced?
Let me just, because that was actually another comment I was going to make, was it does say about moving, but I think that part of that, and I'll ask Councilor Ray, is because people will pull off on the side of the road to answer a phone that's ringing. So they may still be in the car, but they're not operating it in the same manner. So there's a distinction between the term operation.
And that would be common sense. It needs to be planned, but the direction would be if it's traveling down the roadway on the travel portion of the roadway, enforce that roadway.
Because my question comes in is when you're stopped at a stoplight, you're not moving. And so that's inattention in any number of ways, because someone that runs a red light, you've looked up, it's green, you go forward because you've been texting and boom, you get hit, or any number of things. So that's the concern I have about operation versus being stationary, and not physically operating the car. What you're doing is you're trying to be a good citizen like people do and pull off. So I'm not sure if there's any way to include that distinction in there.
I talked to one of your officers here about this cell phone here, and this officer told me that they didn't, or he didn't have an actual number about accidents on the cell phone. But then the officer went on to tell me that, of course, when you're in an accident, and of course, if you're in an accident, they're not going to tell you that they're on a cell phone. So it's a kind of a touchy situation for if was it caused by a cell phone or was it caused by something else?
Can we back up a little bit? I think Robert wanted to respond to whether we make number 6 broader or more generic.
I think broader is a good idea, especially with smartphones, because you don't necessarily, or the issue becomes when you press send, or if you flip the screen, is that entering data? You might get into an argument about that, but the reading and the attention that is required on smartphones people could be doing research. They could be reading, looking at pictures. And so something broader, like something generic, maybe the word using, using the device in any manner, while in traffic, or while in traffic, while engaged in driving upon a public highway, while engaged in driving. That could be stopping or moving. If you're at a stop sign, you're still engaged in traffic.
But this says, while the vehicle is in motion.
I know, and that's what I'm saying, that maybe if that's a concern, then rather than using the word in motion, say in traffic. Even if there's, what?
Yeah, I mean, because if you say traffic, like the mayor just said, traffic lane or whatever, because the reality is traffic usually means there's a lot of cars around you. There could be nobody on the highway except for you, and that inattention can also cause an accident. So.
You and a cop.
Well, that's true.
Driving lane.
Just take Council's comment on what the officer said. I have statistical information that indicates that documentation since 2006 has always been eliminated cause traffic crashes in Silver City. Anybody can get on the University of Mexico Education website and obtain that information, and you will see what I see. Which are contributing, most contributing to driving attention. That's a combination of things as well. It could be on the phone, it could be messing with the it could have blocked something and they know it's going to come up and hit something. People don't realize that 55 miles an hour in 1 second coming through traffic. And your mind is not on that roadway. At 55 miles an hour, 2 cars travel the lane of a football field, 81 feet in a second. So your attention is not on the roadway for that 81 feet. Of course, at 35 miles an hour out here, it's about 60 feet. So you miss a lot when you have all these distractions. And even looking at the homeless spot, because it's impossible. They can have a conversation with somebody in a vehicle is a distraction and cognitive thinking of the driver is fully reduced when paying attention to the road. So if we can eliminate this one issue, we can probably cut down on traffic crashes within the community and make it safer. One of the worst accidents over on James Street was caused because of sex. Not paying attention to the road. So again, we would like to address this and proactive in handling it. I appreciate you bringing this forward.
So, the accident on Virginia Street, was the driver cited for driver inattention?
Careless driving. And that was the most appropriate charge.
if I drop my phone on the floor and reach down to pick it up and hit somebody, what am I going to be cited with?
Simply because you blocked it, detention was down here. If you have the phone to your ear, statistically, studies have shown that when you're doing this, you now have blind side. When you're doing this, like on the phone, and now you sort of use your time of thinking on the driving on the road. That's almost paramount to the percentage of DWI.
If I'm talking, my phone rings, I'm driving down the road, I reach over and I push answer for speakerphone, and it comes on, and I start talking, would that be a violation within this law?
Now, if you hit somebody, that would be a violation for a starter. But please keep in mind what we're trying to do is be proactive back here and stop people hitting that vehicle. That's why we would want to develop a good solid ordinance for the purpose of being proactive. Our accidents last year were what, it was a 400, if I remember correctly. Well, just to also the point, the police department reduced those in the by being proactive. Because now people are doing this, like what you got, you got the phone, they're not messing, they're not texting, so it creates a safer environment for the public.
Or it creates an illusion of a safer environment for the public, that people are now not only trying to answer their phone or text, but do it while looking for cops and hiding their phone under the dash, which is what I see in Albuquerque, where they have this ordinance. My point being, you're citing people for careless now, doing a careless act. So now we're targeting the device that they're using to do the careless act. And me and you have had this argument for quite some time, so it's nothing new to you. We're not creating a separate ordinance that cites people for operating the remote control on their car stereo, which I don't know why they need one, but, or changing the CDs in their car stereo, or any other number, yelling at your kids in the back seat. We're not creating a separate ordinance that addresses a specific tool or mode of operation in creating a distraction. So I struggle with that. The other is, if I've got a thing on my ear for hands-free, I'm going to do the same action to answer my smartphone on speaker as I am to push the button on the hands-free. And according to this, I have to have a device, which that's how I pocket dialed you about 15 times one day, was trying to use that device. So I think with technology, we have to be able to adapt to that as well, that because I don't carry a device doesn't mean that I'm any more dangerous than the guy who has this thing sticking out of his ear. That's my major points. Well, I have one more. Good. I got one more. There's, working in EMS for over 20 years, there's probably 30 switches, 2 radios, 2 transmit receive radios, and a stereo in an ambulance. In a police car, there's any number of switches, gadgets, a laptop, a radar, a stereo. Why is an officer not as easily distracted by talking on the cell phone as the rest of the world is, according to the exemption that was put in the NOI?
Well, the previous premise was that there are people that can multitask and there are people that can't. That's no longer true. Science has shown that really nobody can count. Actually, the brain can handle 7 different stimulus at one time. So we have 7 different stimuluses going on. The issue that we have been dealing with, and I'm coming up on the complaints lately, is that I came to the point that told the officers, asked for our appointment and to the sheriff's office, we're not in the corner to use your phone and the state officer to the side of the door and get caught with the credit. Whether we get disciplinary action too. It's that service. We have to eliminate some of these distractions that are operating in the community. We have in-car computers that will pop up a component on the screen, which that's an awful distraction and will take your eyes off it and look at that. We've only had one accident in the amount of time that we put those in that was associated with that device and the passion. Now, as for the general public I'm talking about, I understand what you're saying. I understand about the phone doing this, but you're also not hearing the hand to the base. And it's not a distraction to the flash and to use those hands on the field. And if you have a device in here, then you can still keep your head up and let it in. So if your hands here, the tendency is not to do that. And you're also creating a blind side. So, yes, there's different levels of distraction. This is one that has caused, last year, almost 4,000 deaths in the United States, but also caused 3,000 injuries. Reading through the information in the United States, people who have been in accidents that have been texting and putting on the vehicle and kill somebody have gone to jail for needing to pass that charge. So this is about becoming fair. Previously, we didn't have the issue with society values. We didn't have the issue with seatbelts. Nobody wore seatbelts. But statistically, people were dying at a very high rate because of the lack of use of seatbelt. So now, the public has solved that and has moved forward with a higher percentage of people using seatbelt, which has reduced the number of deaths associated with lack of seatbelt. So that's what we're trying to do with appeals is something proactive dealing to enforce and reduce liability. But actually we have cost $8,000. Even if it's no injuries, if it's an injury by national standard, that's almost $1,600 per crash. So we're trying to look at several different avenues here. Not only reduce that, and hopefully at some point in time reduce insurance issues, etc., to lower crashes. Because quite frankly, enforcing almost all these symptoms, quite frankly, we're only dealing with 3% off last year's accident, like 6-month period, and 10%. So we're not being real successful at everything. We want to be proactive in this area as well, which impact driving and attention.
So the Silver City Police Department is probably undoubtedly the emergency services department in this town that puts on the most mileage of any other emergency service.
I don't think so, because the county has a larger building.
I'm not concerned about the county so much as their patrol areas out in the county, other than coming and going from their office and assisting you. But the Silver City Police Department, your jurisdiction is the town of Silver City. The fire department is basically that. They don't patrol generally, so their mileage is greatly diminished. The ambulance service doesn't patrol generally, so their mileage should be less than the police department. And you took the proactive step to write a department policy saying, don't use your cell phone unless it's hands-free. So, with that being said, we could take out the exception for law enforcement that was put in the NOI, correct?
You got the double-edged sword today. Well, you could. I agree that you could do it. However, that would create... I'll just leave it at that, and discussion-wise, okay, I'm just going to feel it. The government create issues, you know, not to create enforcement issues, because we don't know whether the county is using the penny and the discharging of the duties are just going to cause a phone call. So we have to further investigate exactly the to determine what violation is. So here, I understand where you're headed with this, because it's one of those that I'm wrestling with as well. And, okay, the public has been positive spirit going on.
And your testimony is that you did it as a department because of the safety issue. I have full faith that the sheriff's office is entrusted with the safety of the citizens that they serve as well, which also live in Silver City. And I would hope that they would follow suit rather than put you in a bind as to trying to pull over a sheriff's officer for talking on the cell phone. Because everything that you've just testified to, and yeah, I'd love to be at the next sheriff versus chief meeting, but everything that you've just testified to us to is that it's just as dangerous for a law enforcement officer as it is for anyone else, as well as the fact that there's more stimulus probably in a police car than the average one single person driving down the road. So I'm sympathetic to the situation it puts you in, but I still think that you have justified why the exception should be removed.
And I agree with you. I'm feeling a little bit of things and trying to resolve these issues. But the city council chooses to declare that reduction on other lines using law enforcement agencies of relatively human to them. So it's up to them to develop challenges that they wish to do. That's how I'm fair. But they will have to decide if they can follow the way we have to.
And as odd of a position that may put you in, I honestly don't find that offensive to the general public, and especially in light of what we've just talked about. The other is I would like to see us address the hands-free device issue, and in some manner in the next month. Councilor Bedison.
I was going to say, I use a hands-free device, but it actually goes through the vehicle. And I've now started not to call anyone or to actually answer the phone. I won't press the button on my steering wheel to answer the phone because I find that it's distracting. And equally as distracting, sometimes even more distracting, than having someone in the car with me. Just because my mind then gets engaged in generally a specific conversation about work or about something that's, happening. And I understand that there have been, and I don't have the names of those studies, but watching 60 Minutes and all those various things, that there seems to be the equivalent amount of distraction, whether it's a phone in your hand or whether it's a hand-free device. that it doesn't, I mean, I understand the blind spot, but at the same point, it's still a significant distraction. I mean, just like smoking is in a vehicle, you know, or drinking water or doing whatever you're doing. It's just, but it's still mentally that engagement in that way through a hands-free device is essentially just as I said, you know, impacts as greatly someone's cognitive abilities to know what's going on the road. So, hands-free, yes.
Again, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to indicate that you hitting a button is as a very much distraction as
talking.
So texting, with all the information that we get, is the biggest growing issue along with this.
Although that's kind of becoming old-fashioned, because we have that, smartphones and touch, and you just talk. You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of becoming a thing of the past, but...
You have to use the microphone here.
Did you hear me? Well, I think texting is definitely a problem driving, and I've done it myself, and I know it's dangerous, and I'm trying not to, especially since the NOI thing. But when I open up my phone, I can just talk all I want driving down the road as a smartphone, and it's almost like it's becoming a thing of the past, and they're running them through your steering wheel or whatever. Yeah. But definitely, I mean, texting is, and we all see people texting. It's horrible. Yeah.
I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, because I guess somebody's going to ask the question, so it shouldn't just be on texting. No, it needs to be on texting. You have something, and that's my proposal.
Councilor Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From what we've heard, I can tell that there's a pretty good debate, pretty spirited debate, which leads me to believe that this is a worthwhile notice of intent to go forward and continue the debate and push it to the public. So the way it reads, I would be willing to support the NOI going forward and being pushed to the public and also come back to us in a couple council meetings to wind down and fully articulate that debate and come to a conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Ray.
I move for approval of notice of intent ordinance number 1207 and ordinance amending section 12.6, I'm sorry, section 12-6-12.8, prohibited activities while driving of a New Mexico Uniform Traffic Code adopted as the Silver City Traffic Ordinance in Chapter 50, Section 50-1, Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City, New Mexico.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? There's a motion and a second and no discussion to adopt notice of intent, an ordinance amending section 12-6-12.18, prohibited activities while driving of the New Mexico Uniform Traffic Code adopted as the Silver City Traffic Ordinance in Chapter 50, Section 50-1 of the Municipal Code of the Town of Silver City, New Mexico. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And the next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of change of the regular council meeting scheduled for August 28th, 2012 to another date. And the reason for this is I and others amongst the body will be attending the Municipal League annual meetings in Las Cruces during our regularly scheduled meeting. on August 28th, and I would like to propose that we move the meeting to August 23rd at 6 p.m. in this very same room.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor.
I move that we approve the change of the regular council meeting schedule for August 28, 2012 to Thursday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. in this room.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to move the regular meeting that was previously scheduled for August 28, 2012 to Thursday, August 23rd, 2012 at 6 p.m. in this very same room. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second for adjournment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, and we are adjourned.